The next sequel is sequel number 66. We shall be looking at the state of the church, 1903, and we are going to continue with that. The bishop is making several pastoral visits across Uganda, and the consecration of various churches, including the Cathedral, are also going to be part of this sequel. I'm Christopher Amos Chikomekontambi, and I welcome you. Bishop Turker made his next pastoral visit to Ankole in October 1903, but he began with Kochi and then later proceeded to Mbalala, where he reached on the 18th of October 1903. In Ankole, the Omugabe was baptized and he was also confirmed at the same time. He got the name Edward Solomon Kahaya. The Engazi of Ankole was also baptized and confirmed with the new name Noah. His wife got the name Tama. Now, for those of you who know the Bible, go and look for Tama and see where that came from. Now, the queen, the Banyankole call her Omwegairire, got the name Esther. And again, those of you who know the Bible, you know the queen called Esther. And close to 700 people filled the church. And 78 candidates were confirmed. And all these facts are written in Bishop Turker's own book, the memoirs he wrote. Turker wrote a book, 18 Years in Eastern Africa, and in volume 1 and volume 2. So we have these as facts from him. However, also, Mengo Notes, which was a newspaper, or the very first newspaper, recorded those events. Unfortunately, they used to come later in the year, so there is a problem with the dates. The dates recorded in Mengo Notes. Yes, the year is 93, but the dates are very wrong. We shall go with the dates recorded in the memoirs of Bishop Turker and not the newspaper. After Mbalala, the bishop and members of his party proceeded to Toro again. Forgive me for being jealous, but I think the bishop was overdoing it. He visited Toro the most times anywhere in Eastern Africa in his 18 years. So he was overjoyed to find the medical work of Dr. Bond, the one who had lost a wife, well appreciated in the wall of Toro. Another Dr. Maddox had joined him since then, and the bishop then returned through Mitiana, reaching Namirembe safely with his party on the 17th of November 1903. Then in March of 1904, the Bishop Turker, made his maiden visit to northern Uganda. He was accompanied by Dr. and Mrs. Cook on a pastoral visit. The route they used was through Bunyoro because there was no straight route. You had to divert a bit. So he diverted and passed through Bunyoro. And on reaching Bunyoro, he found the missionary, the Reverend Arthur Leonard Kiching. He was aged 28, a very young priest. He had been priested 4 years earlier on. He had arrived in Uganda in 1901. And although he had been posted to Toro, he was later transferred to go to northern Uganda. He was the pioneer northern Uganda priest at Patigo Church Missionary Society Station. And the party arrived there and they enjoyed the Easter Sunday on the 29th of March at Ujigi's village. They then continued north to Nimule, now that is the border point with southern Sudan, the equatorial border. And they headed, and then of course later came back to Patigo. At Patigo is where they stayed for the longest time. It was a heavy rainy season and Miss Cook fell ill, but they had medicine. So she was in good hands. Her husband was a doctor, so she was able to recover during the journey. Now, the return journey was also through Bunyoro, and they reached safely back to Namirembe on the 10th of May, 1904. So at least by 1904, the bishop had reached as far as northern Uganda as well. On the 21st of June 1904, Bishop Tucker consecrated the new cathedral building. This was the second cathedral building. The first cathedral building was a transiting cathedral. It transited in 1898. It transited from a mission church to a cathedral by the act of placing in it the cathedral, the throne of the bishop. So now that was pulled down in 1901, and a fresh cathedral was built, the second cathedral. And now the second cathedral was consecrated by the bishop on the 21st of June 1904. It was a very big ceremony. 4,500 people sat inside it, while another 6,000 people sat outside. The Kabaka designate, Chua II, attended the ceremony. The governor, the Sodia Sadler, and his wife were also there. But listen at the offerings. The offerings are also recorded on that day. The offerings were 1,613 rupees, rupiah. 90,000 cowrie shells, 36 cows, 23 goats, and other foodstuffs. Those of you who read the Bible, 1 Kings chapter 8, the official consecration of the temple in Jerusalem, the sacrificed animals, 22,000 heads of cattle, and 120 sheep. You are joking. You are joking. Now here the Baganda try to do a resemblance of that with 36 cows and 23 goats, other foodstuffs, and of course the offerings as you heard them. I want to give a small description of this second cathedral. I have earlier warned you that ignore the books and what they have written, that this is, I don't know, the fourth or the fifth cathedral. I've told you they lost it. They lost it, and I've already given you the reasons in past sequels. Let me not repeat, please. So this new cathedral, the second one in history on Bukesa Hill, on Namirembe Hill, had a structure. This structure was described as follows: that it was built of sun-dried bricks. Sun-dried bricks. That it was in a cruciform shape. It had a chancel. It had a nave. It had 2 aisles. It had a heavy hewn timber constructed roof supported by a double row of a round brick column with octagonal bases. Now, these octagonal bases were seen from all over the place. You could see them whenever you looked at Bukesa Hill as the picture in today's sequel. Audio video shows, you see, the octo-protruding bases, they were seen from very far. Yeah, those windows were of pointed X, harmonized with pointed axe door connecting the columns together. The interior decoration of the roof was a beautiful reedwork after the yellow ones were first washed, polished, and then cut to the required length and laid side by side. They were tied with a dark colored fiber in a long parallel of lines of varied designs. Beautiful, beautiful work. We must thank our grandfathers and mothers for such a beautiful, beautiful piece of work in a cathedral church. I now want to move on. A Mengo hospital, which had also burnt in 1902, was now finalized. The new one was now finalized. A much bigger hospital was now in place at Mengo, and it was also inaugurated on the 28th of November 1904. So thanks to the people of Buganda for replacing the hospital building. We now go to the next consecration of a church. Again, it was done by Bishop Taka, and this consecrated church was on Bugala Island. Now, these are Sese Islands on Lake Victoria. So that church you see at Bugala is very old. It was consecrated on the 1st of October 1904. Unfortunately, these days when we build new buildings, we then consecrate them. So very few people may ever know about this date, since now there is a new complete structure, and I don't think they have retained this older foundation consecration stone. But anyway, that doesn't matter. The bishop was accompanied by the Archdeacon, the Venerable Walker, and Bishop Tucker arrived by steamer, the Sir William McKinnon. It had been lent to the group by the Permanent Assistant Commissioner George Wilson Tayari. They were received by big crowds. This was the first pastoral visit of Bishop Tucker onto the island of Bugala. The priest there was Reverend Thomas Bazira. He was the one in charge of all the islands. And on that occasion, 93 candidates were confirmed, having been gathered from the various islands of Sese Islands. In other news of that year, Henry Stanley, whose visit of Mutesa's palace in 1875 opened Buganda to the world, died. He died on the 10th of May, 1904. And he died an old man from his very home of Richmond Terrace in London. They had recognized him as a lord in the British parliamentary system from 1895 to 1900. He was knighted by Queen Victoria in 1899. So at death, he was known as Sir Henry Stanley. His funeral service was held at the Westminster Abbey, which was a very great honor, on the 18th of May, 1904. And among the pallbearers was Sir Harry Johnson, the one who signed the 1900 Buganda Agreement. Stanley was buried at St. Michael's Church graveyard in Pabirait, Surrey. So please don't go looking for his body at the Westminster Abbey. There was a funeral service, and after that, he was carried away and buried at another church, the St. Michael Church graveyard in Pabirait in Surrey. That's it for today. May the good Lord bless us all.